The Miami Heat and the New York Knicks will renew their playoff rivalry on Sunday as their second-round NBA playoff series tips off. Here in New York, we look at things often from a Knicks-centered perspective, but it's always good to check in with the other side and know your opponent. So, joining me today is the man who is very plugged in with the Heat franchise. He is the host of 5 on the Floor. That is a Miami Heat podcast. His name is Greg Sylvander, and he joins me now. Greg, I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's been a whirlwind couple weeks. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure you're having a lot of fun too. So we meet at a good time.
Yes.
It's a shame we haven't had more conversations more frequently, but this series, the universe brings us together again. So here we are, and it's Heat Knicks. I feel like, what is it, 97 all of a sudden? I mean, is Illmatic about to drop? What's happening?
Man, those were good times. We're showing our age, but those were good times, right? And everybody knows about the Knicks-Heat rivalry. Those are definitely good times. So let's get started with this, Greg, because for you, as somebody who covers the Heat, an insider here, considering where the team was just a few weeks ago, right, losing the first playing game to the Hawks, and they beat the Bulls to get into the playoffs as the 8th seed. Are you surprised that the team knocked off the Bucks and made it to the second round of the playoffs?
Surprised is an understatement. It has been, and you know, I actually saw this happen league-wide with a lot of fan bases. Parity has caused fans to be relatively discontent more than usual. Heat fans were that way throughout the entire season. Losing the first game to Atlanta and ending up in the 8th seed, half the fan base wanted them to essentially just enter the lottery, and it looked like that's where it was trending. And this is completely flipped on its head all of a sudden. So it's it's absolutely surprising, but it's left Heat fans, I think, a little bit scatterbrained in that this was a team that very much everyone thought this was the end of the road for this group and that there were going to be massive changes coming this summer, which may still come. But the difference is now they're making a playoff run, and you didn't expect that to happen. So it's been a little bit it's counterintuitive because you had a roster that you thought was going to be not good enough, not enough, and need to be broken up essentially, or a reset of some kind. And now you have to reevaluate. Tyler Hero's out, and they're still advancing, beating the number 1 seed. So it is absolutely surprising. But watching the way Jimmy's playing, I don't know that I can be surprised by anything that he does at this point.
And we're going to get to that. I'm going to come back to you on the fan side of things here, right? So you know the history of this rivalry between the Knicks and the Heat. And this is going to the fans right now. What is the vibe right now down in South Beach? And how is Heat Nation feeling about this series after upsetting the Bucks and everything you just said, with the fact that a lot of the fan base, or part of the fan base, we should say, thought that major changes could be coming this summer? So what's the vibe of Heat Nation right now?
There's some cautious optimism out there, which I think can be dangerous because expectations are everything as it relates to sports. And now Heat fans have adjusted their expectations again. They had none heading into Milwaukee, and they have a bunch heading into New York. I'll say this. I started watching basketball in 1991. Have been a Heat fan since then. I was fully entrenched and in the building for every single one of those Heat home playoff games against New York throughout the 90s. And I was there for all the agony of the defeats, the Allen Houston shot, Clarence Weatherspoon missing after a Jamal Mashburn pass where the Knicks eliminated the Heat for the 3rd time as a lower seed with no home court. I was in the building for all of that stuff. It was such an intense rivalry. I actually brought a sign to one of those games as a kid, and it said, "This means war." And I held it up in the stands, and it ended up getting on TNT. And I thought that was like so cool back then. The teams are in different places today. I would say that the rivalry aspect from the fan base is maybe a little bit tempered down because it's been so long that a lot of the fans today don't really know Heat Knicks as a rivalry. But all it takes is a couple games, Derek. And all it takes is Knicks fans travel in Miami very well. There's a lot of New Yorkers in Miami. So the arena can become filled. It can become a Knicks home game if things go wrong. And so that element, I think, is going to renew this rivalry, and Heat fans that have never experienced that real Heat Knicks we'll call it healthy dislike, that may start to build back up again. Those muscles have atrophied because these teams have not faced each other in so long. So now we just got to build them back up in this series.
Okay, I like it. A healthy dislike. And yes, here in New York, they sometimes like to call the arena down there in Miami MSG South. That can turn into a lot of Knicks fans in the arena down there. So we can't talk about the Heat without talking about Jimmy Butler, right? In your eyes, is playoff Jimmy Butler a thing? Or is Butler still underrated, and what we have seen thus far in the playoffs is just simply Jimmy being Jimmy? What are your thoughts on Jimmy?
There's definitely a playoff Jimmy. I can say one of the big takeaways from that first round series against Milwaukee is it makes it harder and harder to take the regular season seriously when you see a player like Jimmy Butler still have absolutely amazing numbers, super efficient, probably will finish all NBA second team or around there. So he had a great year, but played, 60 some odd games. And now all of a sudden you get into a playoff atmosphere and you have a guy like Jimmy who can control the flow of the game. And when things slow down in the playoffs and you're able to hunt for mismatches and really get strategic, and you see the same team again and again and again, that favors Jimmy Butler. He is one that very much is studying where he can exploit weaknesses. And that's something in the regular season when you see a team on a random Tuesday night and then you're heading to, wherever it be, like Boston the next night, and then you're going to Minnesota 2 nights later, you don't really get to lock in on your opponent the way that I think Jimmy gets to in a playoff series. And that means that playoff Jimmy is absolutely a thing. And it's why I think Heat fans, you asked for their mindset, and I'll circle back and close here on this one, is that the cautious optimism is because we're all no longer willing to doubt Jimmy Butler. And so I think that that's where Heat fans are feeling really good right now. It's just because of the way Jimmy has played.
Hey, he's been tremendous, just tremendous numbers in that first series against the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, here we go. This is it right here, Greg. Game time. I need to know, what are your keys to the series? What do the Heat need to do if they are going to knock off the Knicks? And also, it's going to be this time. It's prediction time. What is your prediction for the series? Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot here. So I want to know the keys and your prediction. Go.
Keys are controlling Jalen Brunson in New York. And when I say control, I don't mean necessarily that that they need to shut him down, because I don't know that you're shutting down Jalen Brunson right now. But he could score all he wants. You want to limit his getting others involved. The Knicks had the lowest assist percentage throughout the regular season. A lot of their stuff is done off one-on-one basketball, just literally outdoing your opponent with a lot of individual stuff. It's not a pass-heavy offense. So to me, they have to protect against that crowd getting behind that team with Jalen Brunson finding shooters. So that's one. They have to watch the offensive glass. That's something New York is so good at. That's probably the biggest weakness that Miami is going to have to watch out for. And they just felt it against Milwaukee as well. But they were winning. They've won games where the rebound disparity was over. They're getting 20 less rebounds than Milwaukee, and they still won game 5. So I would say the rebounding and their defense against Jalen Brunson are the top things from the Heat's perspective. And for my prediction, I'm going Heat in 6.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this, and I don't know that your listeners are going to love this. There is a chance it could be, and this is, we've coined this phrase during the Big 3 era, Heat in 5. And that has a lot to do with, I want to see how they come out in this first game. A lot of people are pegging Madison Square Garden as a stage that made the Cavs kind of fall back and they look like they need to take their lumps. Jimmy Butler's a different animal in that regard. I think he's going to thrive in that atmosphere. He'll feed off of the crowd. And then also, this is where I come back to the Knicks as a new group making a run. Usually a team has to take a lump before they actually go and make that extended run. So I don't know. I'm thinking Heat in 5 or 6. I'll say 6 just to be as diplomatic as possible.
Okay. All right. Yes, it's not going to please the Knicks fans that watch this video and are looking to get things from the Heat perspective a little bit. They're not going to go with that. But we got your perspective. We got your keys. We got your prediction. That is Greg Sylvander, host of 5 on the Floor. It's a really dope podcast that covers the NBA and the Miami Heat. Greg, appreciate the time. Glad to check in with you. We're going to probably check in again throughout this series, but thank you for the time. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, let's definitely do it. Heat Knicks is back, and I'm feeling young again.
I know. We are. We're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a great series. I'm going to enjoy it for sure. Thanks, Greg.